This is actually Chilean Malbec. This fruit came in about maybe about a week and a half ago, and it's just finishing the fermentation process. So basically, at this point, just about all of the sugar has been fully converted into alcohol. Fermentation is a really cool process because it basically all you do is you add yeast, and fermentation kicks off. You actually can have fermentation kick off without even adding yeast, but there's a little more uncertainty doing it that way. But it's a completely exothermic reaction, which means while it's happening and while the yeast is eating sugar, it actually releases a tremendous amount of heat. So every day we're measuring the temperature of this. It's called must, actually, the mixture of grape skins and wine, and we measure the sugar level, and that's actually how we know when the fermentation is complete, is when the sugar level is at 0, and that's when we have a dry wine. The temperature level of this also can, at peak fermentation, can get close to 90 degrees. What we're looking at here is a wine press. You can think of this almost as like a French coffee press, where after fermentation is complete and you have this big bin full of grape skins and juice, we actually take buckets and we bucket all of that into this press. What happens is all of it's actually now wine, flows through these slats, actually collects. We have a bucket down here, and then we actually pump that into the barrel, and then we actually start pushing down. This is a hydraulic top that actually pushes down on the grapes, and the harder we push down, you actually get what's called a harder press fraction, which is parts of the wine that have more tannins and more flavors. So that is based on how we want to develop that barrel of wine. Actually, it has to do with how much pressure we're putting on the grapes. So that's one area where the winemaker can actually adjust the final product. Wine is it's very different than beer in the sense that it takes a long time to go from this point where it's fully alcoholic to something you actually want to drink. And that's where the extended aging process comes into play. So all of our red wines are aged in oak barrels. New oak. So we actually use what's called neutral oak, which is barrels that have been used at least one time before. And there's a number of reasons why we do that. One of the main reasons is a brand new French oak or American oak barrel has such an intense oak flavor to it that when we're doing things in small lots and don't have the ability to be blending new oak and old oak together, it's going to be too oaky. So there's actually a great in-between solution, because you still want to have some oak flavor on your wines, and a lot of these barrels really don't have much oak flavor left. They're just great vessels. So we use oak staves, which are basically, you can think of a barrel that was never actually constructed and long strips of oak that would have made up that barrel. We actually insert that into the barrel and seep it, almost like you'd seep tea. And that we can experiment with different oaks, so we can use American, Hungarian, French, and different toast levels, and almost oak to taste on that specific barrel. So once it achieves the absolute right level of oakiness, we can actually pull out that stave and it's achieved that level. For a lot of white wines, we actually age them in steel as opposed to oak, mainly because some white wines you just don't want that oak flavor or anything, or any oxygen at all to get on them. So when you have a very crisp, acidic white wine, so like a Burgundian style Chardonnay or a very dry Riesling, for example, that's usually never saw any oak. And these small stainless steel barrels basically allows us to do this in really small lots without using big tanks.